Hi, it's Zach with Meridian Media. We're here on set today and I just wanted to show you our process for getting set up for doing video interviews. We came into the room and we realized that probably the prettiest parts of the room are these long windows along the side. And we thought that maximizing those windows so that they can kind of create some leading lines along the edge of our frame, and just the repetition of having multiple windows in a row gives a nice kind of like pleasing aesthetic along the edge of our frame. So we wanted to work with that. So we have a 50mm lens on here, which is what we're using for our interview. And the aperture is set to f2, which will create a really shallow depth of field. In order to open up that far, we actually have added 2 stops of ND and kind of create this nice, pleasing, soft background. We have our subject sitting in this chair for the interview. Our camera is camera left of our subject, which means that when our subject is sitting in here, what we really want is for the subject to be looking at this other chair, which is where our interviewer will be sitting and prompting the interview questions. And the reason that we're offsetting it here is so that when our subject is sitting in the interview frame, they're looking a bit this way. It's making sure that the shadow side of the face is oriented toward the camera so that we get a little bit more of a dynamic image. This highlight that's coming off of the softbox, if we are facing this way, this would be the primary side of the face that's facing the camera, and it would just flatten it out. It would not be as interesting, but when we orient the darker side of the face toward the camera, we get some nice contrast and just looks more pleasing of an interview frame. So for our interview lighting, we're working with a pretty basic 3-point lighting setup. We have our key light over here, which is oriented coming from the same way as the window light. So because we're gonna be getting some light spilling through the background and we're gonna see the directionality of the sun coming through these windows, we wanted to make sure that our key light was oriented to simulate that natural daylight spilling in. So we have our key light set up here, and we have it at about a 45-degree angle so that when our subject is sitting in the seat, we are going to be getting a bit of that Rembrandt patch. You know, we want a nice soft lighting from our softbox hitting one side of their face and wrapping a bit. Because it wasn't wrapping quite enough, we added an additional fill light. So we have this LED panel that's also set to daylight, 5600 Kelvin, and this is set up opposite of our key light so that it is filling in some of the harsher shadows that we were getting on our subject's darker side of the face. We also have a kicker set up in the background. So we actually have this light heated up a bit. So this is at 4000 Kelvin. This will be a warmer color temperature than our other 2 lights. And the purpose of this light is just to provide some kick on the back shoulder of the dark side of the subject, just to help separate them from the background more and create like a consistent highlight on their shoulder to make sure that even if the light is changing behind them, that our subject lighting is nice and stable throughout our interview frame. So in choosing to put this light at 4000 Kelvin and having a little bit warmer of a color temperature, we're just creating a little bit more color contrast in our lighting setup. This is the background of our interview frame, and we know that over the course of the day, the sun is going to travel from this side of the room to that side of the room. So the lighting is going to be inconsistent in the directionality of it coming through these windows. In order to make sure that we have a nice splash of light in the background, even if the sun goes behind a cloud, we are using a small aperture LED light, and we actually have that turned to 4500 Kelvin because we like adding a bit of warmth in the background here. And we're just gonna, luckily there's a little bit of a ledge here. So if we sit this in the right spot, it's hidden by the frame of the window and just creates a nice directional splash of light on the background. Thanks for watching this behind the scenes production video. I hope you can take something from it and apply it to your own work. If there's any video topics that you'd like us to cover in the future, let us know in the comments. Thanks.